This week I'm taking the seat from Tim, and we're going to talk about some key overlooked areas that you can add value to your bottom line above and beyond just market performance. For those of you that I have not had the opportunity to meet, my name is Ben Klunt, and I'm an advisor here at 10 Capital Wealth Advisors. As I said in the intro, today we're going to be talking about some additional ways that you might want to implement into your plan to go and add value above and beyond just market return. First one we're going to dig into, and I dig into it a lot more in the written commentary below, is a health savings account, right? And there are certain stipulations to using a health savings account, but it's a great tool if you're able to use it. The whole gist of the health savings account is you need to have a high deductible health insurance plan. So the first option that we're going to dig into is a HSA, or a health savings account. This can be an investment account that is managed by 10 Capital or another advisor, or in cash. The benefits of a health savings account are that it grows tax deferred, and then distributions are tax free if used on healthcare. One of the lesser known options around HSA is that if you don't use it before age 65 on health related expenses, you get the benefit of tax deferred growth, and then just like an IRA, distributions can begin to pay for retirement expenses. The tax benefit you get before retirement expenses or pulling it out for health expenses is that you get a $7,200 decrease in your taxable income, which is the max amount that you're eligible to put in an HSA for a family. If you are over the age of 55, there is a $1,000 catch-up per individual in the family that is over age 65. So theoretically, you could have, what would that be, $9,200 for a couple that is over age 55 to put in an HSA if they have an eligible health plan. One of the great parts about an HSA is that there's actually no requirement to use it on health expenses in the year that you have a contribution. So you could get the benefit of, if you have health expenses that would be eligible to write off on your personal tax return, on top of putting the $7,200 or $9,200, depending on where you're at in life. You could get that double tax benefit and have that $9,200 or $7,200 be invested and continue to get the benefit of compounding interest every year until the year at which you need to start taking distributions off that account. With 10 Capital, how we come into play with HSAs a lot of the time is we work with HSA Bank, Sterling, or Lively HSA. If you have an account or you want to talk about opening an account at one of those custodians, we are able to manage the monies within that HSA as we would your IRA, your joint account, or your 401k, any other investment vehicle that we might manage for you. We can't do distributions or a lot of those types of things on them. There are some limitations as to what we can do on them, but we can help you allocate those in a manner to take advantage of compounding interest and get that working for you. Again, the big ones with the HSA, the tax deductibility for the $7,200 for the family, no requirement to use it. You get tax deferred growth if it's used for health care expenses. It's tax-free distributions. If it's not, and you use it after age 65, you get the benefit of that tax-deferred growth. You will pay ordinary income tax on it, on those distributions, but you still get the compounding interest on top of the compounding interest. Next, what we're going to talk about is the backdoor Roth. I know a lot of people think they're ineligible for Roths because of the amount of money that they make. And this might be true. You might be ineligible. Usually the phase out is around 200 for a family. 200 in AGI is what would be the phase out. There is a lesser known way to get money into a Roth, and not just a Roth 401k, but even a Roth IRA. The caveat with this is that you cannot have a traditional IRA in place and have this work, at least not in a very clean manner. But if you do not have a traditional IRA and you want to talk about doing a backdoor Roth, here's how we do it. We make a non-tax deductible contribution to your traditional IRA. Little caveat side note here, remember, IRA is just an account type, individual retirement account. Traditional and Roth are the tax types, pre-tax and post-tax, okay? So we make a non-tax deductible contribution to your traditional IRA with a very quick, very subsequent conversion to your Roth. Then you get the benefit of tax-free growth, tax-free distributions once you're over age 59 and a half, which is the age for distributions without hitting penalty on all retirement accounts. The last part that I want to touch on is Medicare tax analysis. I think a lot of people assume that once they reach age 65, that Medicare is actually free and there's no longer an expense associated with it. I want to dispel that myth right now, because when we're doing financial planning, and if you've had the benefit of sitting down to do financial planning with us, and we pull that healthcare component in there, you're going to see that the cost for a couple on Medicare is approximately $9,500. That's going to include Part B, Part D, Medigap, whatever it is, types of policies that you want to include in there, but that's about the all-in cost for once you're age 65. The other thing is that the premiums for those supplemental policies are actually on a graduated premium basis. So the more money you make, the higher the premiums are on those policies. So be aware of that. It actually starts at 176 in AGI. So when we're managing distributions for clients out of their retirement accounts, be it a joint account or an IRA, we're cognizant of how that might affect their Medicare premiums. Because if they're in a year where they're at 175 and they need to take out another $10,000 for the cost of a roof repair maybe or something like that due to some of the windstorms that we experienced recently, which might be an all too real thing for some people watching right now, and you're going to go up to 186, we don't want to have you incur that additional premium and have your AGI go over that 176 limit and you incur additional costs for premiums. And then there's another one at 222,000 in AGI. So I don't want to dig into these things too much in depth, but I wanted to kind of wet your whistle a little bit with some additional ways at which you can, again, increase your bottom line. We have a saying in 10 Capital, you've heard it before, and I want to make sure I get it right, but it's not what you make, it's what you keep, right? And a lot of wealth accumulation is based upon what you keep. So not just what your return is, but what you keep. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you got some value out of it, and have a great weekend.